Welcome back, students and families. This is Mr. Panza talking about the water cycle and impacting weather. We've been talking about how we can predict weather, but we haven't gotten into any technology or weather tools just yet. So let's take a look at some weather tools today so that we can see how meteorologists and other scientists are able to predict weather accurately. Weather tools. What are they? What do they do? Thermometer, wind vane, anemometer, barometer. These are the only two that the book mentioned, but we're going to get into more than just those. And a rain gauge. Those are the most common weather tools. Let's look at each. A thermometer is a weather tool used to measure the temperature. Typically, it looks something like this. Wind vane. By observing wind vanes, we can know the direction of the wind. Knowing the direction of the wind is important because it can help weather predictors determine where weather's coming from and where it's heading. Normally looks something like this on the top of a roof of a house. Anemometer, you can hear the wind, is going with the wind speed, which of course is also important to predicting weather. Anemometer is a weather tool that measures the wind speed. Looks something like this, spins very fast. A barometer is all about air pressure. Air pressure can help you predict good weather or bad weather, depending on if it's low or high pressure. It looks something like this. A rain gauge, quite simply, is a gauge that will collect rain. It measures how much rain is outside, so you can see how many inches it rained. Looks like this. Those are the basic weather tools, and as I mentioned, our book goes over the anemometer and the barometer specifically. We're going to talk about those and the other ones and some that we haven't mentioned yet. How do we measure weather? We do it with air pressure and wind direction and wind speed. Also, the total amount that can be calculated with a wind vane, but we're really specifically looking at water vapor. Air pressure is the push of air pushing or pressing against the surroundings. Think of somebody sitting on a balloon. It's the pressure inside and can hold you up if you're sitting on it the correct way. A tool used to measure air pressure is called a barometer. Wind speed and direction also important. It identifies where the wind is coming from. A wind blowing from the west to east is called a west wind, and a wind blowing from the north to south is a north wind. Much like many things with weather and the water cycle and land features, we're talking about where these things originate. That's how they get their names. Two tools used to measure the wind is the wind vane, which we've already talked about, and you probably see these at airports. I know we can see one right outside of my classroom at the Smoketown Airport, a wind sock. The wind vane points into the direction of the wind, and a wind sock points away from the wind. Wind speed is measured using a tool called an anemometer. The faster the wind blows, the faster the cups on the device will spin and gives you an accurate reading of how fast the wind is blowing in your area. Water vapor is all about humidity. The amount of water vapor in the air is called humidity. When humidity is high, then there's a lot of water vapor and there's a good chance it's going to rain. Air can only hold so much water vapor. When it's humid, our sweat has trouble changing from liquid to a gas or evaporating, and that's why we feel hot. When temperature drops, however, water vapor will condense because it's cooling and change from a gas back into a liquid. When there's enough liquid, when those droplets become so heavy, we know that they form the clouds and they start to precipitate. So these are the types of weather tools and how they help us predict weather. Don't just be limited to these, though, and I always encourage students go beyond our text and learn more about weather tools and how they help predict the weather.